Strong Customer Authentication is the latest installment of the European Payment Services Directive number 2. It was really invented to tackle fraud in card-not-present environment for electronic commerce, which the European Central Bank estimates to be about 1.8 billion euro per annum. And in practice, what it will mean is that customers on the website will be asked to use two-factor to authenticate themselves to their issuer, as opposed to just one, which tends to be the norm today. So from the 14th of September, the way travelers authenticate themselves will change. Up until now, all you had to do pretty much was enter your card details on the website, and you might have been asked to authenticate yourself with a one-time password received by SMS on your phone. From the 14th of September, you will have to provide for every transaction virtually 2 pieces of information about you, which could be a password or a fingerprint on your phone. SCA is pretty complex for the travel industry because it goes way beyond the simple use cases that was envisaged by the regulator, which is you go on your website, you put something in your shopping cart, and then you pay. In travel, there is a lot more complexity due largely to the possibility of distribution, which means that there are new players in the value chain, that your card details can be stored and handled in different ways along the way, which means that by definition, strong customer authentication is much more difficult to make happen in that very complex ecosystem than it is in a simple use case. So strong customer authentication really matters for the travel industry. First of all, the user experience will change. People will go from having virtually nothing to do to having to apply 2 factors every time, so that will impact the customer experience. And secondly, retailers will have to make changes to support strong customer authentication, without which they risk issuers declining transactions and ultimately impacting their conversion rate. Travel commerce is unlikely to fall off a cliff as a result of strong customer authentication, but it could. It could in the sense that if a travel merchant does not support strong customer authentication, they take the risk that the banks will decline those transactions. So merchants can do 3 things in order to prepare for strong customer authentication whilst preserving the all-important conversion rate. Number 1 is they can implement the latest version of the 3D Secure Protocol, version 2.1, version 2.2, which is the Hyperloop version of the Steam Train protocol 1.0, which is 20 years old. Number 2, they can implement whitelisting. From a customer standpoint, what that means is that the next time I go onto that merchant, I can check a box that says that I don't need to be authenticated the next time I return to them. Number 3, a merchant would benefit from working with a payment service provider and acquirer in order to implement transaction risk analysis, which essentially allows the merchants not to authenticate travelers for transactions up to the value of 500 euro. If a merchant is going to do those 3 things together, then they will really get the optimum benefit from the enhanced security to their customers on the one hand, and from preserving the great customer experience and the conversion rate they enjoy today. Strong customer authentication really has thrown the gauntlet to the industry in the sense that up until now, you typically had to choose between customer experience and security. And with strong customer authentication, the aspiration is that you can finally get both without the detriment of one or the other. So Amadeus itself is preparing for strong customer authentication by doing 3 main things. Number 1, we're upgrading our distribution systems in order to work with the 3DS protocol. That's very important for the travel environment where there's a lot of distribution transactions. Number 2, we have announced recently a partnership with Cybersource. Cybersource are a Visa company dedicated to fraud and security risk management, and we're very confident that thanks to this partnership, we will be able to offer to our merchant customers, be they agents or airlines, a strong customer authentication solution. And number 3, we are collaborating with other players in the industry in order to ensure that moving forward, the very complex use cases of travel are better captured so that banks can make the right decisions based on that context. So what the Amadeus CyberSource partnership brings to the travel industry is essentially peace of mind. We have partnered with one of the best-in-class companies in authentication, fraud, and security risk management. And what it means is that with a simple integration with Amadeus Payment, you get all the benefit from strong customer authentication, i.e. compliance, on the one hand, and on the other, you will be able to evolve your implementation as the protocol evolves and brings more possibilities.